got? Ah, some hate, some love. See. Yeah, I can't make my mind up with them. I really cannot. Are you two ready to present? If I introduce you?
Oh yes, we are. Has Andrew joined now?
He has.
I'm sorry.
I am.
Okay.
Good
here
evening, Andrew.
And, hey there, everyone. I will be ready to present in just a moment. I'm just getting the slides here.
Cool.
Okay.
So,
just
yeah. So, good evening, everyone, again, and welcome to the UK User Group. Tonight we've got two speakers for our first talk. So we've got the wonderful Anna Demeni, and we have the amazing Andrew Welch. I thought I'd say something nice, Andrew. And I've not got the invite open. I can't remember the title, but I know it's about ecosystems and all this sort of thing and amazing, wonderful stuff. So it is going to be an amazing session. So I will hand over. There you go. Enterprise architecting an ecosystem. I've been architecting all day. That's why I couldn't remember. So I will hand over to you two, and yeah, look forward to this.
Oh,
yeah,
thanks.
Sure. Thank you. Anna, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name's Anna Demeni. I am a cloud solution architect for Microsoft, and every day, I have the great opportunity to be working with partners who want, to build or grow new technology. So I'm really very happy to be here. A few disclaimers. First of all, sorry that we joined at 10 past. I thought that we're starting at quarter past. So I hope no one's been waiting for us. Second of all, I do have a cold because we've got a 1-year-old who eats the same toys as other 1-year-olds. So that makes her perfectly fine and me very sick. And my third disclaimer is that she may be coming home here in a few minutes. So we're gonna do our first inclusive hybrid baby present architecture talk tonight, because unfortunately we don't have family around or help with the baby tonight. So I hope that's okay.
Great. Thanks, Anna. Hey, Trisha. And by the way, I should warn everyone. I'm showing the slides, and Trisha, I just saw your hand go up. What? Go for it.
It was supposed to be an applause. Like I just pressed the wrong button. Sorry. Carry on.
Okay.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I actually am. So I'm down in the dining room so that we can, like I said, we will be receiving aforementioned baby when she comes back. So I'm rolling on one screen and I'm using it to share that screen. So hopefully, if anyone raises their hand or puts comments in the chat or whatever, I'll just try to be as aware as possible. So as for me, I'm Andrew Welch. I'm the CTO for cloud services at a Microsoft partner called HSO. So thank you for having us. I've been doing a lot of work. Anna and I have both been doing a lot of work on this topic of ecosystem architecture. So what are the best practices for architecting across the Microsoft cloud? So we are not specifically looking at business applications. We're not specifically looking at Azure. We're not specifically looking at Fabric or AI or modern work. We're actually looking at all of those things. And a typical ecosystem might have, when it's all said and done, might have many hundreds or even more solutions inside of it. So this is a look that is far beyond solution architecture and much more at the specifics of how these ecosystems piece together. So thank you for joining us in that. We're going to share some new information today, some new work that we've been doing with Microsoft. So if you saw this and you were part of our session back in June in person, there's going to be some new stuff today. Before we go further, I'll just say that I have recently redone my website, so we're going to continue to add the materials here and more information. We're working on a white paper on this topic. Is Laura Webb on the call? Laura, are you here? I checked beforehand. Maybe she is, maybe she isn't. But anyway, just wanted to give a shout to Laura, who did this beautiful logo graphic when I overhauled my blog last month. So she did great work, and just wanted to say thank you in front of others. But we'll continue to put all this information out there at cloudlight.house. Okay, so we want to introduce a concept that we call the strategic pyramid for cloud ecosystem architecture. So let's think a little bit about some of these topics, building up from the bottom, architecting the strategic foundations, building the platform ecosystem, creating the conditions for success. And then implementing workloads. Anna, do you want to talk a little bit about the various pieces of this concept?
Yeah, sure. It's really interesting because today, I had a long meeting with some teams at Microsoft, and someone asked me whether I'm part of any open source projects, and I was a bit taken aback by the question because, as you all know, when you work for a big corporation, you're not really allowed to make a lot of IP and just put it out on the internet. It normally just becomes the property of your company. But then, as we've been working on this concept of a strategic pyramid, I think it would be really, really interesting if we could gather information from, more people. And I would be very curious to hearing your opinions about this talk and about this topic. Our talk is called, architecting an ecosystem, and then here we come with a strategic pyramid concept, and that's because we, in order to start anything, you sort of have to have a little bit of a vision of where you want to be heading. So I suppose I see the strategic pyramid with its layers as where we would want to be heading, and the reason why we're even talking about ecosystem architecture at the moment, because if we are to look at the top items of the pyramid and talk about implementing workloads, for example, this is like a very clear goal and even a strategy for many companies, from a few years back. They know a sort of technology, and what they want to do is they want to implement, a process, a project using a specific technology. And it can be a rather complicated, for example, Dynamics 365 implementation, or custom applications, or so on and so forward, or like app migration, etc. And that was the strategy, right? But as we moved on, and as technology has moved on, and overall regulations that we have to adhere to with regards to data and so on, we've had to add on top of that goal of just implementing what we call a workload, which again can be a very, very complex project. And here is where we come with things like application lifecycle management, and we're really careful to be doing very good platform management, and to have a good security model. And we're introducing citizen developers, but with a very strong security model and like guardrails around it, and so on and so forth. And Here's where all of a sudden we are enriching implementing workloads with a bit more than that, just to create, as we're saying here, conditions for success. But as time moves on and as the company matures, we are seeking to look at a lot more than that, because if we really look at a project, we will realize that in order to create a healthy ecosystem, as we call it, or a good deliverable, even that we can then apply managed services on top and continue having a good relationship with our customer. We have to start looking at all of the other tools and processes that are already deployed on our clients, existing deployments and any sort of legacy applications they will have, and any sort of technology preferences, and so on and so forth. And here's where we come with building the platform ecosystems. At this point in time, we look at data not just within the application that we are building right now, but we look at data as an overall thing for the whole organization. And then we look at all sorts of platforms and core systems that our customer may have, and we take that into consideration as well. We apply data governance at a much higher level than just our initial piece of work. And finally, we do integrate workloads across the estate. And here's where we are now basing our attention and focus on the yellow band on our pyramid that says building the platform ecosystems. And finally, we are talking about executive vision and prioritization across the estate, data mapping, at a much higher level to ensure data consistency. And Andrew's actually going to talk to you about how we prepare for artificial intelligence as well, and how that is important, to take into account where we go in and implement a certain process for our customers. So that being said, here's how we see the strategic pyramid, and which is the layer that we are focusing on most, Andrew, at the moment.
Yeah, so I spend most of my time nowadays working with CIOs of larger organizations. And what I see is that the smart organizations, the organizations that are building future-ready cloud ecosystems, and we say future-ready, meaning have they built their cloud ecosystem in such a way where it is likely to be able to absorb technical changes that are coming down the line that are going to be the result of new Microsoft product introductions, advancements in data platform technology and artificial intelligence, etc. The smarter CIOs that I work with are actually pushing down further into the pyramid rather than starting with the idea of implementing a workload, rolling out a Dynamics application, building a custom app, etc. Or even focusing on creating the conditions for success, which the industry has dressed up over the last several years, I think, as governance. The smarter CIOs are looking more and more at the underlying core platform services, core data services, and the strategic architecture that we've kind of enumerated here around that. And a funny thing is happening. A few trends actually are impacting the industry and are impacting the partner ecosystem, the Microsoft ecosystem, technologists, individuals, people on this here on this call, etc. The first trend is that talent people in the market, in the talent pool worldwide, that have these sorts of skills. Talent decreases in availability as you go deeper into the pyramid. So there's a lot more people who know how to build an app or who know how to implement a Dynamics workload, say at the top, than there are people who know how to build an institutional data model, or folks who know how to map an ecosystem end to end. So talent decreases as you go deeper. And as a result, the ease of insourcing and reshoring increases as you go higher up into the pyramid. And then finally, the activities at the top here, those are the ones that are most accessible to citizen developers and to artificial intelligence. So you see the capability of, say, one of Microsoft's Copilots, Copilot for Power Apps, for example. You see the ability of that technology to build the app for you. So increasingly, what I think we're going to see is a lot of pressure at the top of the pyramid in the market and a lot of open space towards the bottom of the pyramid. Now, for a very long time, organizations, whether they are partners or whether they are customers or individuals, everyone has been super obsessed with implementing workloads. That's where so many partners, for example, want to start you, right? They want to say, hey, let's scope out the app, let's scope out the workload, let's design that, let's build it, let's implement it. So lots and lots of people are obsessed with work up at the top, which is the kind of the most commoditized, the most easily replicable. And what we're trying to do when we talk about enterprise architecting an ecosystem, we're trying to help you move deeper into this pyramid from the kind of work that you're doing. Anna, you have anything you want to add here?
Yeah, I think it's actually very difficult to have a look at these concepts because they are less capable of providing an immediate feedback. It's way less satisfying to look at an ecosystem and try and knit data together, or to try and bring people together and opinions together. It feels exhausting. And it's very, very hard to do so. So I understand why people would rather just be there and do the thing. How many times have you had someone say, "Oh, I just want to build the stuff. Oh, I just want to, create that super fun app, or I just want to build that Power Automate flow, or I just want to integrate that piece of technology with something else." People just want to do something because it's visible, it's satisfying, it's cool. It's really easy to show results, it's almost immediate. But I think that we must resist that seduction a little bit and focus our talents to bring technologies together and reconciliate a little bit, some of these ideas. I know for a fact that there's gonna be a lot of material on how to use the copilots as well. So the ramp up would be huge and fast, and for sure it's gonna take up some of that implementing workloads work, but there's still so much more to do, to make our companies successful.
Yeah. So let's talk about let's talk architecture. What we've done is, in order to share these best practices around ecosystem architecture, what we've done is we've created what we call the reference ecosystem. So this is similar to a reference architecture, but it is maybe a little bit more high level, and it's certainly more broad. What we are going to talk through today spans many technologies in the Microsoft cloud. So looking at our reference ecosystem, we created this based on really a composite of customers, of Microsoft customers, I mean, and organizations across, hello, Alexandra, organizations across industries and across the world. So this is based on what we've seen, best practices that we've seen in different countries and in different industries and of different customer size. So we'll first introduce the idea here of the core platform services neighborhood, which is a good point to explain that we've organized this ecosystem, this reference ecosystem, around the concept of a city. Right, so if we're looking at a city map, think of your home city or the place you live, or the cities that you're most familiar with. You can probably think of and identify. You can identify neighborhoods, right? So Seaport in Boston, or Covent Garden in London, or Tribeca in New York, et cetera, et cetera. So cities are made up of neighborhoods. And this is how we've chosen to explain and to conceptualize the concept of a platform neighborhood. So first we have what we call core platform services. Oftentimes when you hear people talk about building a landing zone or building a cloud landing zone, what they're really talking about are the core platform services. These are the services that are going to get used across the cloud within an organization, across a tenant here. So these are like your water, or your police service, or your public transportation, whatever it might be. Those services that are used across the community. A few that we think are particularly important. I'm not going to go through each of these, but we have Azure Purview. That's over on the far left. That's that I there. Azure Purview is a technology that's getting a lot of investment from Microsoft around data governance, data cataloging, building one security model for your data across the organization. And for those of you who spend a lot of time working with Dataverse, you may have seen sometime within the last 6 weeks, the announcement of Azure Purview support for data living in Dataverse as well. We also have Azure Active Directory, which I believe has been renamed recently. I will not comment on that, but in any case, we've got Active Directory here providing identity management across the organization, key vaults, monitor, notification hub, security center, application insights. And then for those of you, again, who spend a lot of time working with Power Platform or the Dynamics applications, Dynamics being big Power Platform solutions that Microsoft has already built for you. We have managed environments on the right. So at the beginning of this ecosystem journey, building that landing zone that accounts for those core platform services that are going to be used throughout. Anna, you want me to keep going, or are you? I see you went off camera. Are you still with us? Okay, oh no, there she is. Hey, Anna. Muted.
Sorry, I'm still here. It's just that our sitter was like super nice and just took the baby at her home for a second here, so we got
Awesome.
lucky.
Do you want to pick up with OneLake and integration?
Yes, of course. We see integration as a big deal in this reference ecosystem that we're creating, and this is just because this will be our infrastructure, right? Our bloodline. All of the data will travel through our system using these technologies. And I guess what we're trying to say is that we want to promote the idea of a pattern. And people have been using patterns since forever, and we're all used to abiding by a structure or a pattern when doing anything. The pattern that we are trying to promote is where you move all of your data in a similar way, regardless of where it comes from. We can see here all of the technology that we love, that we know and love. If you are familiar with Fabric at all, you will see that a lot of this technology will actually be applicable for One Lake. So here's how we can actually integrate all of our systems, so not just Power Platform and our business applications, but a lot more than that. We'll be able to have a common repository in One Lake, our OneDrive for business, right? All of our data will be there, and then we can use things like Event Grid or Azure Functions or Azure Data Factory and all of the other integration technologies that we know already. The only difference is that, what we're saying here is the moment we move data within our system, you should have it very well structured, following a pattern, regardless of where it comes from, and it is neat and tidy, put together in our integration neighborhood, eventually getting to a single source of truth, helping us eliminate data duplication, aiding our governance, and data consolidation overall.
Yeah, so think of this, and this is why this is our only glowing arrow here on the diagram. Really, this is Main Street. This is the core center city, the central part of our city here. The integration neighborhood consists of both logic and event-based integration, so using technologies such as, say, Event Grid, Service Bus, etc., and also for data integration and batching, say, using Azure Data Factory. One Lake, we are terrifically excited about One Lake as a central core component of the ecosystem. And if you've not looked into this more deeply, One Lake is built on Data Lake Gen 2 technology, right? So this is proven technology, but the idea is one data lake across your entire tenant. So you have one tenant equals one data lake, not two, not zero. And this is ultimately where all of the data across the organization is going to land. Now, one thing that's not depicted on the diagram here is that more and more of the conversations I'm having involve a master data management component as well. So using a technology such as Clued-in or Prophecy to provide for that transactional master data management. And I think that in a future version of the reference ecosystem, we will introduce master data management as a part of the integration neighborhood as well. So that will likely be part of the white paper that'll be coming here in the next few months. Moving to the next neighborhood, let's talk a little bit about core business systems. Now, in our reference ecosystem, remember, no one organization is no two organizations are the same. So organizations are going to have a different elements of their ecosystem. They might have, in fact, Microsoft competitors. We've chosen to represent this with the use of Workday for HR, the use of SAP for ERP. We could have very easily said Salesforce for CRM, but the whole idea is that we're trying to convey that these organizations are varied in what they've loaded into their ecosystem, so to speak, and what we're trying to integrate. And then finally, we have a bespoke tier 1 core business system built using Azure SQL. These technologies, these applications, these core business systems, think of these are the high rises. These are the major buildings. This is that part of your city. So these applications, these workloads are integrated to that integration neighborhood, and ultimately that data is hitting your lake downstream as well. We may also be migrating legacy applications. So say that we have a legacy application, a legacy workload sitting in virtual machines or sitting on-prem, and we're going to migrate. This is a a sales or a service or a sales or a service workload. So we're going to migrate these into D365 CE for our CRM solution, and maybe we have another big core business system that we've decided to migrate into a bespoke tier one Power Platform solution. So more and more organizations are using Power Platform to build these tier one core business systems, and they are relying on that. So these are incredibly complex applications that use Power Platform and of course sit on Dataverse as that transactional data service. Now, Dataverse, a huge part of the value of Dataverse is becoming the way that Dataverse plugs into the data estate, right? So say we don't have F&O on this, in this particular ecosystem, we decided to go with SAP instead. That's not commentary on F&O one way or another, but rather an acknowledgement that many organizations have varied ecosystems. But if you are using F&O within the organization, surely you've picked up on the idea that in order for that data to connect to the broader data estate, that data is now flowing through Dataverse as well. So we're going to plug Dataverse into our integration neighborhood and use those same repeatable patterns and components. And this rounds out our core business systems neighborhood. Anna, you want to talk a little bit about the legacy apps and that application portfolio?
Right. So I find it astonishing, first of all, how quickly technology and our focus points move this year at least. Maybe it's because I've been out a year. Maybe it's been the same last year. I don't know. But I don't remember it moving so fast. Because, for example, now I'm talking to more and more people who are actually using AWS and Google Cloud in their core business systems neighborhoods. And they still want to integrate with Microsoft, and they still want to create, these systems, but they don't even come from a Microsoft platform anymore. And I think it's just wild the way technology can actually flow at the moment. So just the other day, I've had to deal with an AWS scenario, which of course is really very easy because it's got a shortcut in Fabric already. So it's from there we can easily just go back to Dataverse and create our entire business application scenario. Legacy apps is something everyone has. And when we say legacy apps, we don't just talk about an on-premise system or a website that has been created like 15 years ago by someone and they left the organization and now no one knows what to do with it, etc. We know, surely we all have, we've all had those scenarios, right? But sometimes legacy apps are full-blown systems that people use day in, day out. And even though they're not a core business system, they're pretty important. So what we can do is, of course, migrate those to various Dataverse environments and create, Power Apps and a lot of Power Automate and actually integrate those together as well. And once we've done that, of course, we're going to use the integration neighborhood again for it to talk back into our ecosystem and use that data in a valuable way. Eventually, what we would do is probably perform hyper automation and make sure that there's no more legacy apps or that everything has been totally digitally transformed. But if legacy apps are a part of our organization, we should absolutely not treat them as a silo, but integrate that data into our notional ecosystem as well. If you want to click to surround this, Andrew.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so all of this talks together again, and it's just our app portfolio neighborhood. This can be also represented by a bunch of apps that our citizen developers have created, and we love them, we use them every day, but we also govern them. We also make sure that security is solely in place, and we make sure that the rest of the organization can benefit from that, from that information by integrating it with our other systems within the ecosystem.
Yeah, so I actually just spent the last couple of days, Keith Watling and I, together with some folks from Microsoft and with a client organization we work with, talking about migrating a whole portfolio of their tier 2, we're going to call them, applications into Power Platform over time. So the whole idea of this application portfolio is that not all is one big bang, but over time you're going to migrate more and more and more of these applications into the Microsoft Cloud. Power Platform should really be your first port of call here. There's other technologies that you might use, but those are going to need to be built into and integrated here as well. I just checked my watch, so we're going to try to
exactly.
move
I was
quickly
just about
here.
to say, let's go to data storage, but I didn't want you to feel like I was rushing you, as I'm doing all the time, guys. I'm rushing this man all the time, every day.
Yeah. So let's talk about unstructured data, right? We've talked a lot about structured data. That's data that sits in tables, in relational data services. But most organizations have absolutely vast estates of unstructured data. Those are the documents, the files, the images, the videos, etc. And oftentimes, I'm still actually working with a lot of organizations where their unstructured data is sitting in, say, network storage. So that good old-fashioned, the very memorable S drive, for example. There's other places where this could sit from a legacy perspective, but that's what we're going to say for our notional ecosystem. This unstructured data, it might be built into or associated with some of these legacy applications that we've migrated, but ultimately we're using various migration tools to move them into proper modern cloud storage facilities for unstructured data. Blob storage is exceptionally good at storing large amounts of unstructured data. And of course, many organizations are using Microsoft 365 SharePoint specifically. And then we're not going to talk much about Viva, but Viva is increasingly lurking around here as part of this unstructured data conversation, and often plugging back into your core business systems as well. So think Viva for Sales, for example. So this makes up our unstructured data neighborhood. Now you see there's a big missing part of this diagram. So Anna, do you want to talk through a little bit about how we then distribute this data downstream a bit?
Right, and I think this is the novelty of the concept, because we used to have, like you said, images and files and documents and printed documents and so on and so forth, and they would just at best be archived somewhere where they didn't required a huge cost for just storing them. I'm talking about you people who are still probably dealing with loads of PDF files underneath your Dataverse, and you're trying to convince your bosses to move those away so that you can have a more effective system. But now we can actually index all of those, and we can use them to search for relevant information, to use this information where in artificial intelligence, of course, right now, co-pilots are able to actually, read these files and interpret them and summarize them and connect them together and so on and so forth. So by using cognitive search and click, right, and one lake, all of a sudden we have all of this power for our user experience. So all of a sudden our Power Apps users or Dynamics users or even, Power Pages users, and if you will, I don't know, just .NET websites users, they are able to benefit from this this huge amount of data. That was good, Andrew.
Oh, okay.
You took it back.
There you go.
They're able to benefit from this huge amount of data, and you are seeing a lot of analytics. I'm not sure we've got Power Virtual Agent here or anything like that. I don't think we do, but they also use all of this information every day. So our end users within our organization are able to quickly get to their customer data without having to, look in 5 applications at the same time. They're quickly able to manipulate this data and enrich this data and like go on and sell their product or service their customers, etc., etc. And our management is able to do real-time analytics and do whatever we all want to do, predict what should we sell, who should we sell it to, what product is going to be more effective than another product, what sort of population do we need to reach next, how can we be more profitable. That's our purpose here as well. And this is how we would be able to ease into it. Now, this is a whole neighborhood, so you don't have to be an expert in building the whole neighborhood. That's perfectly fine. If actually from the whole neighborhood, your specialty is, I don't know, building streets and bridges and, transportation services, fabulous. Make sure that, you integrate things in an amazing fashion, and then the rest of the project adheres to the same pattern that you described. Or if your goal is actually core business systems neighborhood and you only want to focus on that, amazing, just focus on that. That doesn't make you just this doesn't mean that you're just gonna deliver workloads. It does mean that you're gonna look at the whole ecosystem and estate and make sure that all of the other parts are accomplished as well.
Yeah, so this rounds out our data distribution neighborhood, and we're each going to share an industry example. I'm going to share one from the legal industry. So this is a law firm. One of the things that I want to say is that when I used to sit down and... Yes,
sorry
Anna?
to interrupt you, Andrew, but I think in the interest of time, I would actually go to your artificial intelligence pillars and the suggestions with regards to those, because I feel like those are really novel and potentially people would benefit from those more. And of course, at the end, we can quickly go through the industry examples. What do you think?
Yep, that sounds good. And I think we have a knock at the door. Can you go? I'll tap through these. Okay.
Definitely.
Yeah. So just from an industry perspective, and let's get into the architecture around building this into a future-ready AI driven ecosystem. One of the things you'll find, though, is if you look at specific implementations of this is an example of the model I just shared applied to a big law firm. you can see that it's actually quite durable. That pattern is quite durable in across multiple industries. So we've taken the notional ecosystem and we've applied it to a law firm, and then this one looks a bit different, but this is applied to a bank as well. So what we're doing is we're taking these principles and we're applying them to our architecture across multiple industries. But what I do want to get to, as Anna said, is let's talk a little bit about how this plugs into the architecture around building AI into these ecosystems. So what you have here, I modified a little bit, an example that a Microsoft blog from Azure AI Services put out several months ago. But what you have here is, this is an example of how AI basically acts on that enterprise data. So over on the left, we have our application user interface. This could be through, this could be through the form factor of chatting. This could be, an application, etc. And essentially, what we're doing is we are calling whatever is very generic, whatever our application server is that UX sits on top of, and we've used Azure Cognitive Search to index all of this data that's sitting in our data platform. So representatively, we're saying Azure SQL, OneLake, and blob storage. Though you'll see we could use any number of AI-ready data services. So that data is indexed by Cognitive Search. Cognitive Search is then able to call that index and use that to pass it back to Azure AI Services, which is able to produce the result that gets fed back to the user through that app UX. Now, in practice, so let's move this over and think about what most organizations look like. Most organizations have these huge stores of data that need to be consolidated into what we'll call AI-ready data stores. So in this example, we've got data sitting in Access, on-premise SQL, and Excel that's going to get moved across into Azure SQL data and Dataverse. Then we've also got our unstructured data that's moving into the blob. And I said earlier that one of the huge values of Dataverse in this architecture is that it is addressable by AI, meaning that Azure Cognitive Search is able to index data sitting in the lake, and Dataverse is able to push its transactional application data into the lake. So what we've done is we're consolidating this data and we are making this data available to Cognitive Search for indexing purposes. Now, just to connect the dots here, think back to our notional ecosystem. Let's reshuffle this a bit. This was our data distribution neighborhood. So what we've made a little bit simpler here to really hone in on this concept, right, is that we've got unstructured data landing in blob, we've got more structured data landing in lake, but all of it is being indexed by Cognitive Search, and that in addition to providing for, say, an enterprise-wide search workload, that index in Cognitive Search essentially becomes the front door through which your AI-driven workloads walk in this ecosystem. So when we say ecosystem architecture is about building future-ready cloud services that are addressable by analytical workloads that are addressable, say, by AI workloads, et cetera. This is really what we mean, is landing that data in a way that's addressable by these services and indexed by Cognitive Search. So this is new. And this will be appearing in one form or another in the white paper, the forthcoming white paper as well. So with that, I'll share a few links. And by the way, Anna, did you have anything else you wanted to share, or should I just kind of move on to questions?
Just that I think, first of all, I really love the way you take these notions and write them down on a piece of paper, and I think it just brings things that we're all talking about, but you just draw them out. And to everyone here, please know that we've created that huge notional architecture, but actually, in real life, you don't have to use all of that technology, but you will get the slides that actually relate to industries, and then you will see how those can be mapped, in real life scenarios. Second of all, I think the whole data consolidation piece. It can be very intimidating and scary, but don't believe that it's I just saw the question, but do not believe that you can just avoid it, because you cannot. If you want your AI strategy to actually work, you have to have a look at all of those things, and that's all. Yeah, that's all I sort of wanted to add to that.
Great. So just some further reading. This is a model for how you can bake this kind of strategic thinking into the work that you're doing. This goes in depth on that strategic pyramid. So if you want to learn a little bit more about where the industry is going from that perspective. And then finally, this was just something that I shared last week, building future-ready cloud ecosystems for the age of AI. This goes in much greater depth on the final topic that we shared, and we will be sharing more in depth and additional architecture around this in the weeks and the months ahead. So with that, sorry, this is my just usual thank you slide, Anna. But with that,
okay.
Thanks everybody, and I will turn the share off back to our hosts if there's any questions. If not, we'll turn it over to our next lovely presenter. Thanks everybody.
Thank you all.
Let's see. Can we drink beer in the
Questions?
You can drink beer anywhere you like.
Exactly. Especially if you start reading Andrew's articles. So Andrew sort of takes our thinking and our dinner chats and turns them into these beautiful, brilliant, blog posts. There are more like novels. So if you've got like a 6-pack available, that's what you need to be able to read the whole thing. But it's really useful. Yeah.
Yeah, this is actually what Anna and I talk about at dinner. So we're a fun bunch.
Pete is just 6. Well, that's depending on how fast you read. Yeah.
Any other questions?
If anybody has any questions, please ask now. For the recording will be available on YouTube, actually right after this. So please feel free to rewatch, because there's a lot of information. And but if you have any questions, you have Anna and Andrew available now, which is a rare occurrence. Ask the question now.
Because the baby's with the seater, so I think you should ask now.
This is your time. This is your time.
Yeah, hey, Angela.
Hi there. Thanks for that. It was very interesting. Thank you. I just wondered. I've been sort of specialising a little bit more in the marketing arena. I'm talking obviously the top of your pyramid there in the apps. But obviously there's a change between that now, working alongside customer insights and the whole AI side of that. Just interested to see if you've got any further insights on that as a release. I suppose, where does that sit in? I know it obviously comes in the app side, but in terms of that structure of the AI with customer insights and marketing and being able to read that data, is there more behind that in terms of the infrastructure?
Yeah, so if I were thinking about customer, and this is not one that Anna and I have talked about, so we might give you two totally different answers. I'm very interested.
I suspect that we will. Yes.
Here's my take on it. We didn't include customer insights because there's just so much that we haven't included because it can't all fit on one slide. I would notionally group customer insights with our data distribution neighborhood, because ultimately customer insights is a tool that is helping us to interpret and act on that data that we have available. So in some of the customer specific architectures that I've been working on, I've got various analytical workloads or data science workloads that sit inside of that data distribution piece. One of the things, though, that I think that it's useful to think of this, one of the ways that I think Microsoft is investing here is to make some of the what we'll call greatest hits type applications, the greatest hits type workloads or use cases available in a more accessible way, right? So more easily implementable, easier to unlock without doing a lot of heavy engineering work upstream. And I think that customer insights definitely sits within that realm of Microsoft has determined that this is something that people are going to want to do again and again and again. So they've invested in customer insights to make this more accessible without having to do a lot of deeper data engineering. And I think that Copilot falls into that category. You're going to increasingly see, I think, more, we'll call them bespoke Copilots popping up that organizations build for themselves. They're not literally a Copilot in the way that Microsoft would brand them, but they're going to be sort of that ilk. So yeah, I would definitely put customer insights as one of those workloads in our data distribution neighborhood. Anna, what's your take on it?
So from my knowledge and the way I see things moving at Microsoft and within Microsoft and where investment and targets are going, the dynamics for marketing is a whole another animal, right? It can handle huge amounts of data, huge amounts of emails, parallel processing, and so on and so forth. There's a huge investment from a dynamics for marketing perspective. Traditionally, we haven't had great success with marketing products, but this time around things are getting super serious. I can see a lot of programs coming for exactly. I can see a lot of partners actually wanting to specialize in dynamics for marketing, and Microsoft's pushing heavy programs to help that perspective as well. Mm-hmm. So I see there being even more than one, just one Dynamics for Marketing Copilot, and them being specialized on the various activities that we are doing with Dynamics for Marketing. But that's an awesome question, Angela. Thank you.
Thanks very much. That's great. Cheers.
That link that we shared on building future-ready ecosystems for the age of AI, and I'm just dropping that in the chat, that talks a little bit about the difference between incremental AI and differential AI, and that might be useful just to organize your thinking around. Maybe it's a marketing workload, maybe it isn't, but that might be useful as well.
Lovely, thank you.
Any other questions? I don't know. I'm aware that we've already etten 60 minutes
I don't want to take
into our next
time.
Exactly.
I'm the next speaker. Take all the time. It's fine. Okay. Any last questions?
All right.
Okay.
Everyone.
Great.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for your flexibility. And I apologize for us being a bit hazy and a bit sick and a bit all over the place, but we do hope that this was useful. Thank you.
It was useful to me, so that was great, and hopefully useful to everyone else as well. But thank you so much. Thank you very much for taking the time out, and please thank Alexandra as well. Like, we really appreciate her sacrifice for giving us her parents, and I really enjoyed it, and I learned a lot. Thank you.
Thanks, Trisha. We're going to go put her to bed, and we'll be back if she goes quietly. So hopefully see you all in a few minutes. Bye, guys.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you. Okay, so the next part of our evening is going to be pretty much just a whistle-stop tour of D365 and the first-party model-driven apps. Because to be honest, we keep hearing about the Power Platform, and that's great, but there's another side to it, and I would like to share it with you all. So if you don't mind, give me 1 second. Let me share my screen. Okay, can you see my screen? Okay. See my screen? No? Thumbs up?
Yep.
Okay, great. Let's do this.
Yeah, I
So,
can see it.
introducing Microsoft's suite of model-driven apps, which are tailored specifically for different business personas. If you do have any questions, put it in the chat. We'll get to it at the end, or we'll have a general discussion because I like a chinwag. But who am I? My name is Trisha Sinclair, and I'm the European Customer Service Lead at Avanat. I'm also a Microsoft MVP, MCT, and also a Microsoft Quiz team member because we do the most amazing Microsoft pub quizzes. The next one's going to be at South Coast Summit. We're going to be announcing tickets soon, so please watch out for that and get your tickets. Power Platform School co-organizer, trying to get more diversity into the Power Platform, into Microsoft technology, and into Microsoft partners. So that is pretty much me, and I can be contacted on both, I was going to say Twitter, but it's not Twitter now, it's X, and also on LinkedIn. So those are how you can contact me, and also, silly, like I actually have a blog called trishasinclair.com, so you can also reach me there. Didn't put it, but you can reach me there. Okay, so let's start. I want to do a quick little, how'd you say, Menti, which is where you basically scan that with your phone and you scan that with your phone in terms of, are you familiar with the Power Platform? And I will see the results. So we can actually see where we stand in the audience that we have today. Or you can just go to menti.com, put in the code, and just answer the question. And we can actually see who we have in the audience today in terms of familiarity and, you know, what you know. That will help me to understand how deep to go, how high to go. That's fine, because to be honest, the whole purpose of this user group is to, one, provide sessions like you just saw, which for Anna and Andrew, like more detailed, more enterprise ready, more for people who are super experienced, but also we want to bring in people who are totally new to technology, who are still learning, who are just learning, and this is going to be for them, just to share who might actually not be aware of all the different capabilities that you actually have, right? So still moving a bit, but I think it's kind of like a 60-40 split it seems to be going between, so that's not bad. I do have another question, so save your phone. I'm assuming the 60% of you, what's your favorite Power Platform tool? So if you do the same again, but put this code in, and then answer what's your favorite Power Platform tool? Like, which one do you basically reach for the most? Tell us. Tell us now. It's going to be great. I know what I'm hoping to see, but it's very unlikely to happen, but I'm hoping to see it. Dataverse, Power Automate, marketing. Hey, someone put marketing. That's great. Awesome. Power Pages. Okay. Okay. Anyone else? Keep it coming. Keep it coming. I noticed no one has put service, and that makes me a bit sad, but that's okay. It's fine. Someone put back command line interface. You can always bring out the devs. You can always bring out the devs. That's fine. Okay. Cool. But to be honest, this might just mean absolute German if you don't know what the Power Platform is. And that's fine, because we're going to, first of all, start this session by introducing the Power Platform. Now, before I start, I talked about, you know, like if you have any questions, then just put it in the chat, I'll respond, or I'll basically just wait until the end and I'll bring it in. But on top of that, how I'm going to run this session is by pretty much introducing, first of all, what the Power Platform is, because although I'm talking about Microsoft's first-party model-driven apps, what exactly is that, right? We have to start it from somewhere, and we're going to start it off with the Power Platform. So if you've been working within the Microsoft ecosystem for a while, you'd be familiar with like SharePoint, Microsoft CRM, or even ERP. But in the more recent years, you'll see that local technology has taken over, and is actually now used in most companies as a way to accelerate the development and empower businesses to be more productive or effective. So as I mentioned, in this session, we're not going to go into detail about the different parts of the Power Platform. But I think it's necessary that I mention the Power Platform so that we can understand where the Microsoft first-party apps sit within its structure. So 60% of us know what Microsoft Power Platform is, and that's great. But for the 40% who don't, Microsoft's Power Platform includes a group of services: Power Apps, Power Automate, Power Virtual Agent, Power Pages, and Power BI. And these different tools, sets, or services allow users to build solutions which resolve business challenges that they have at any one time. So if we just do a really quick breakdown, Power Apps, that allows, for example, users to build web, mobile applications. It's said without writing code. That is actually possible, but we typically do find that some code is needed to provide a fully blingy working app. Power Automate, which provides the ability to automate more repetitive tasks, and also trigger approval processes as well. And it does leverage connectors. Power Apps also leverage connectors that will allow interaction with third-party applications or third-party systems. Power Virtual Agent, which personally is one of my favorite parts of the Power Platform, and that allows bots to be created, typically chatbots, but if you are using other like Microsoft technology, which we're going to come into in a second, you can also use it for voice bots. And that allows users of the bot to gain information, complete processes in a fully automated way, but in a different interface and a different setup to how you would do it with Power Apps. With Power Pages, this allows you to rapidly design, configure, and publish websites. And that will work across a multitude of browsers and devices. And Power Pages are typically used for external users, so external interaction with external users, whereas Power Apps that we talked about before is typically for internal, not typically, but it is used for internal users. And Power BI, which is an interactive data visualization tool that will allow users to gain insights from disparate data sources. So we talked about like bringing data in and how that's typically used between Power Automate and Power Apps. But how is that done? Well, it's done through connectors, and connectors can be used to extend the capabilities in other Microsoft products, allowing customers to leverage their investment and be more productive faster. So if we go back to Power Apps, you'll see that this actually comes. So we talked about Dataverse in the previous session with using connectors and using Power Apps and Power Automate. We have what's known as a fully managed enterprise level data store called Dataverse, which is where all the magic happens. And Dataverse allows data to be stored securely, and it's very, very flexible and very, very scalable. And that is very key because in the next part, when I talk about Power Apps, because I want to go a little bit further into Power Apps, you'll see that from a Power App perspective, when you're building a Power App, we're starting from literally the canvas. So you don't really need the data. Whereas from a model-driven app, you're starting from data. So you have to understand the data model and understand what you want to store, how you want to store it, and what the relationships are going to be. That actually is tied to Dataverse. So a model-driven app, you must have Dataverse, whereas a Canvas app, You don't. You can actually use any data source, and there's no restriction. It uses connectors like we just talked about with a Canvas app. And the Canvas app is typically, well, what you typically think about when you talk about Power Apps. When you talk about Power Apps, you typically think about Canvas. And those are those beautifully crafted designs that work perfectly and look really blingy and smashing. And you can basically change different things or basically drag and drop and change the different controls on the form to be just so. But to be honest, with a model-driven app, you don't really have that much flexibility in the layout. You can customize the layout, but not as much as you can do with Canvas. So people do tend to think that it looks a little bit more ugly. But it is incredibly feature-rich. So whilst with Canvas apps, for example, you might actually have to build the full functionality, the functionality will probably already be there in a model-driven app. So most model-driven apps do tend to be complete solutions which address that holistic need of the business. And it should also be noted that you can actually build a Canvas app to be embedded in a model-driven app, but you can't do it the other way around. Okay, so there's a lot behind a model-driven app, and it really helps if you understand what there are, what the ability is, what functionalities are available in a model-driven app, because what this will help you to do is avoid rebuilding functionality that already exists. A lot of the times it's just important for us to know that so we can decide, okay, do you actually want to build a Canvas app, or does it make sense to leverage a model-driven app, right? So what exactly do you get in a model-driven app, and why should I consider it? So model-driven apps at a glance. So I'm not going to be going into any apps. There are way too many, and I'll show you what I mean. There are way too many to actually sit and do a demo of the multitude of apps that there are for model-driven. But each of them have very, very similar functionality sets. Not even similar. They're all based on core feature sets, right? So the data, it's stored in Dataverse, definitely, but with that, you also get the 360-degree customer view, where you can actually see everything that's actually going on with your customers. So if you're having an account or a contact or your stakeholder, you actually have like the timeline where you're able to see all the activities and see anything that is associated to another table using like the relationship. So as I mentioned before, it's incredibly important to understand your data and set up your data model, because that data model will dictate what you can see and how you can see it within the system. But you can actually see things from a 360-degree view, which is typically something most customers ask for. I want to see a 360-degree view of my customer. Well, yes, you can with natively through a model-driven app. If it's actually in the system, and if it's not, then you can actually do virtual entities, but that's a separate, different conversation. Typically, you can, that's fine. But what about searching? Because of course, you need to be able to quickly search for things. You don't have to build this functionality, it's already there. Not only is it already there, there's so many different ways in which you can search. You can do advanced find, which is pretty much a detailed searching tool where you can actually add detailed criteria going into different tables, so you can actually pull through and create. You can pull through and identify the specific data that you need using that detailed criteria. Global search, where you can actually search across a different set of tables instead of choosing just one table to look at. What do I mean by a table? What do I mean by table? A table is pretty much a store in a database that keeps track of one particular item. So for example, an account table will keep track of all the accounts that are in that database, all the contacts that are in that database, and those two might be related. If I use an advanced find, I can only search for an account. If I do a quick find, which is pretty much just a quick keyword search by putting in a particular word, and it will search for that word, it will use that particular table as well. But a global search can search across account and contacts, which is incredibly useful, especially if you don't really know what you're looking for. Exchange integration, this it's not necessarily only Exchange. It's really, how do you say, Microsoft 365 integration, where you do have that native integration with Teams, with Exchange, with Word, with Excel, and that is native across all the model-driven apps, right? So you can export data, you can import data, you can track your emails, you can do folder tracking as well. So it will just, if you just pop it into the folder, it will just automatically track. Why do you want to track your emails? Well, you want other people to have access to the email that you received so that they can actually do the work for you. You also might want to trigger off other processes based on an email that was sent to a particular email box, right? Outlook app. So the Outlook app was going to be deprecated, but was no longer deprecated because, to be honest, it's so important to a lot of companies. And what that allows companies to do is, if they're using Outlook app, is pretty much just use this app within Outlook. So it's very self-explanatory. Guided resolution. So pretty much a lot of companies, when they're using these apps, they need their users to know exactly what to do. There is a process, a business process that they would like them to follow, and the business process flow is really an external representation of an internal business process. That's pretty much it. It guides the user through what they need to do in order to get through to the different stages that the company would like them to do. Now, web, tablet, or mobile, that's because, similar to a Canvas app, a model-driven app is available through the web, tablet, or mobile. But we've got to be careful because some model-driven apps are not, and I'll explain a little bit more in a second. Reporting. So reports, of course, we talked about Power BI as a part of the Power Platform, but you actually you are able to create your own reports in the model-driven apps in a model-driven app as well, or some model-driven app. But you can also create a Power BI dashboard chart and actually embed those reports, those charts into the model-driven app. Now, of course, it's super easy to customize, but when I say super easy, you have the option because it can be as low code as you want it, or it can be as detailed code as you want it. I don't know how to specify that now. You're going into really coding territory. So workflows, you can use Power Automate workflows. You can create a Power app and actually embed it, as I mentioned. You can customize the form. These are all pretty much low code methods, but you can go as detailed as creating JavaScript plugins, which require code, but that really extends the platform and or the process and the platform, and makes it suit the requirements of the business, so that they can use it pretty much. Now, when we talk about security, one of the things that we talked about was Dataverse. Of course, Dataverse is built on Azure, so we can leverage the security layer of Azure, so we know that the data is secure, and when data is being sent from and to Dataverse, then that's also secure as well. But what about the actual form itself, or the actual app itself? So role-based forms will dictate who can actually see what fields, and you can actually change the layout based on the persona that you're actually interacting with. So if you have, for example, a salesperson who should see a different form than a service person, you can actually do that and assign them the relevant roles. So even though they're in the same system using the same data, what they're looking at is actually different. You also have field level security because, again, you might have a salesperson or a sales team who are looking at the same form, but you might have a manager who has elevated access, and they will be able to see specific information that a normal sales user will not be able to see. So you do have field level security as well, and you also have access teams. So if we look at working on an opportunity which is top secret, and you can only see, and only a certain team is allowed to see that opportunity, then you can actually create teams and assign them to that opportunity, or share that opportunity with them, so only they have access to that opportunity and no one else can see it. So you can actually do stuff like that as well, which I think is pretty cool. And of course, you have integration to other systems as well, which I'll just refer you back to Anna and Andrew's session for that. But now these are all the different things that you have at a glance from a model-driven app perspective. I want to now kind of go into the actual introduction to all the different apps in the ecosystem. So we're going to start off with the core. We're going to talk about the D365 business applications. And D365 business applications, this contains a subset of applications which originated from what was historically known as Microsoft CRM. But now when you hear the term customer engagement, this refers to a group of applications, D365 marketing, sales, project operations, customer service, field service. And each application focuses on a particular business need, but together they can satisfy complete business processes. So D365 marketing focuses on turning prospects or leads into fully qualified opportunities and includes email marketing, customer journeys, behavior tracking, lead scoring, in addition to event management, and that allows you to organize and promote in-person or webinar events. Now, one of the typical challenges that we get between sales and the marketing department is a lack of communication, which tends to happen where there are disparate systems and silo teams operating within separate processes. Now, this is clearly not productive. So D365 marketing and sales, they work together to ensure that qualified leads are directed to the best salesperson along with the necessary history of the lead, including all their activities. So this doubles back to what I mentioned in terms of one of the core features of model-driven apps in terms of that data model, because that's already set up for success. And this really helps to break down that siloed wall which can exist between those two departments. So dynamic sales or D365 sales is focused on ensuring that sales professionals are able to focus on strengthening their relationships with customers and meeting their goals, adding value not only to salespeople but also to their managers with real-time analytics based on historical and predictive data and native integration to Office applications, for example, Office, Word, Excel, Teams, Exchange. So as I mentioned before, pretty much all the model-driven apps, all these model-driven apps have those native integrations to Office, which covers Word, Excel, Teams, Exchange, etc. But not all products that are sold will actually be a tangible item. Some companies will sell services that they need to track and provide resources to. So a typical example of this will be for professional services companies. And some professional service companies sell both software implementation as well as licenses. So Dynamics 365 project operations, this connects sales, resourcing, project management, finance to win more deals, accelerate project delivery, maximize profitability. And project operations includes sales processes for projects which could extend the native D365 sales application, and it provides a method of pricing and resourcing projects. So it is typically sold and implemented with Microsoft Project for the Web and D365 Finance, which we'll come to. It is really, really important to provide information and assist prospective customers and customers with the resolution of any issues that they might have, because this really has an impact on customers' loyalty to a brand, and it helps to ensure positive word-of-mouth reviews. So customer service, which if you know me, you might know me because that is pretty much all I do and what I talk about. Customer service is super key to a customer's positive experience, impacting how they spend with the company or influence others to do so. So D365 customer service ensures that companies are able to deliver optimal customer service experience to customers. And on top of the core customer service features such as case management, knowledge articles, SLAs, companies are able to schedule resources and leverage a multi-session experience that allows increased agent productivity. But what if you actually need to visit the customer to resolve their issue, or one of their services that you provide provides regular maintenance to a product that you sold? Well, Dynamics 365 Field Service is tailored to deliver services to on-site locations. So this combines automation, scheduling, mobile capabilities for field workers to have the best opportunity for success, and leads to a first-time fix rate. And it leads to also a reduced cost of travel and, of course, more customer convenience. Who wouldn't like that? Ultimately, this leads to a better overall customer and field worker experience. Now, these are the main business applications that are included in Dynamics 365, which are aligned to customer engagement or CRM. Okay, so there is also what is termed as an ERP application, which in a similar vein to what was described for the CRM applications, provides processes that are typically needed to streamline the finance or operations side of the business. So companies that need to fully manage their sales process or manufacture products will have a finance or ERP system that's capable of managing their production and fulfillment, or their invoicing. And where they sell goods delivered to a company, they might also need to manage the fulfillment and delivery of the order that's made by the customer, as well as the items that they have in stock. So while many might already be familiar with like D365 Finance, in a similar way to Power Platform, D365 Finance is pretty much the go-to. Dynamics 365 Business Central also has this functionality and is targeted towards the small to medium-sized companies. But to be honest, in addition to this, D365 Business Central also contains its own warehouse management and project management module as well. So just to set D365 BC and Finance, they have a similar feature sets, but Finance is actually typically used for more enterprise level customers or customers with more complex requirements. So in the case where a company needs to streamline their supply chain process to manage their suppliers, manufacturers, and distributors in a more seamless way, D365 Supply Chain helps to optimize that production, logistics, and distribution process of the company, improving resilience by monitoring typical processes such as inventory management, warehousing, to distribution, providing forecasting data to allow strategic decisions to be made. But there is actually one more D365 ERP application, and that is Commerce. So Dynamics 365 Commerce delivers a complete omni-channel solution, and that unifies the back office, in-store, and the digital experience, so for example, chat, etc., because it does have those channels, to personalize customer engagement, increase employee productivity, and optimize operations, and deliver better business outcomes. You'll probably notice that I don't have Dynamics HR on this, and that is because Dynamics HR is actually being merged right back into Dynamics Finance, and will no longer be its own product. So wave goodbye to Dynamics HR, because that is going back into Finance. Yeah. Now, that's pretty much the core. These are the main products, the main business applications products, right? But in addition to this, there are actually additional applications that extend the native functionality of the CRM-related apps and allow business processes of the company to be glued together. Cool. Now, let's start with Customer Voice. Customer Voice is Microsoft's feedback management tool that allows users to collect, analyze, and track feedback in a easy-to-use interface. Now, Customer Voice typically included in select Dynamics applications such as Customer Service, because it is used within, tracking how did the agent do to a customer that contacted you. Now, to be honest, Customer Voice can actually be used across all the different applications because it's based on feedback. It's a trigger. So it's a different app, but it's actually used across everything, and it can be used across everything. Sales Insights, though, is an AI-enabled application which extends the base application of sales and to include AI capabilities. This does not mean Copilot. This is different from Copilot and actually was a precursor to Copilot. Sales Insights enable sellers to understand the relationship that they have with their customers, identify opportunities that's worth their while, because those are the opportunities that are more likely to be won. And also, you can add what's known as conversational intelligence. Conversational intelligence is included as an extension to Sales Insights and allows salespeople to be coached on their speaking style in terms of, are you speaking too fast? Are you, listening enough, etc. Because you might actually need to change your speaking style to engage more with your prospects. Now, to aid with the personalization of customer experiences, Microsoft's Customer Insights, which is a customer data platform, which, as if you've been paying attention, you'll know is now being merged with Dynamics Marketing as one product, but the functionality and what it does will remain the same. It is a CDP. It is a customer data platform, which allows you the capability to provide insights into your customers and potential customers, engaging with the business and how they're engaging with you. It unifies and enriches data that's collected from multiple data sources to bring that true customer 360. So we talked about how model-driven apps will be able to do that customer 360, but to be honest, if you have customer insights, now that allows you to really have that customer 360 overview, right? Now, although Customer Insights has been merged with D365 Marketing, the functionality that it adds provides value across all the different business applications modules. In fact, I use it the most with Omnichannel for customer service. So with Microsoft Omnichannel for customer service, this extends the capabilities of customer service to provide the omnichannel experience via multiple channels such as voice, chat, SMS, WhatsApp, etc. And those are all available native channels directly within the app. So additional functionality such as agent forecasting and also agent productivity tools such as Smart Assist, which will cover similar case suggestions, suggested knowledge articles, etc., are available to reduce the amount of effort that an agent has to spend to resolve the customer's issue. Now, how does Customer Insights and Omnichannel work together? Well, to be honest, if you really want to provide that personalized experience, then Customer Insights allows you to understand who your customer is. So that's really knowing who your customer is, and allows you to extend leverage next best action suggestions or prompts using a lot of the AI capabilities that you get through Customer Insights. So I've done previous sessions on that. I do recommend that you have a quick look at that. Now, in addition to all the AI, like the AI apps that we talked about, Customer Insights, Sales Insights, you actually have mixed reality apps that are also available, and these are to facilitate the communications with your customers. So Dynamics 365 Guides is a mixed reality application designed for use with the Microsoft HoloLens devices, and that helps operators and technicians to learn on the go by providing contextual and holographic instructions on what they need to do and at the time that they need to do it. But to be honest, sometimes you still need a little bit more help. How can you actually do this? Well, through Remote Assist. Now, Dynamics 365 Remote Assist, you'll see that I've put it in customer service, and I put it in there on purpose because most people will see Remote Assist in the field service bucket, and to be honest, that's where it started. But I'll explain why. Dynamics 365 Remote Assist empowers agents and technicians to solve problems faster, utilizing mobile devices or HoloLens devices, because technicians and customers are now able to receive guidance in context from remote collaborators. So it will spin up a Teams call. The person on the other line can actually see what you're actually doing and use your surroundings to do mixed reality annotations, show you or send to you guides that you can actually read to resolve the issue. So it really just reduces the first time fix rate. Now, one thing that a lot of people don't know is that you also have what's known as one-time remote assist or one-time calling through remote assist, which allows a customer service agent to do the same thing that a field service engineer will be able to do should they contact or initiate remote assist. So the customer would actually be the one showing the agent what's going on, and the agent will now leverage the customer's surroundings to try to resolve the issue. This will further remove the need to send out an actual field service engineer and save so much money for the business. Now, we started off by talking about the Power Platform. Of course, all of this is extensible on the Power Platform, and that's how you can actually bring it together and create that full cohesive business solution. So what we just did was we just did a whole whistle-stop tour of all the D365 business applications that are currently available today, completed with the extensions available on the add-ons that they have. And we also talked about the Power Platform in terms of how each of those different tools are used, and then you can actually analyze the requirements that you have with the customer to understand at which point would you need each of these apps and how and why. But interestingly enough, I've talked about a lot of AI, right? But I can't let this go without just mentioning some of the Copilot goodiness that's actually coming, and that's going to be embedded into each of these apps. So there isn't going to be a new app. So you've heard of Sales Insights. There isn't going to be a when I say there isn't going to be a Sales Copilot, it was called Viva Sales, and now it's called Sales Copilot. So that did not age well. But to be honest, the rest of the different apps don't have a plan to have a separate Copilot. Copilot functionality is being embedded natively into these model-driven apps. So all the way from AI-generated proposals to help you to reduce the amount of time that you're spending writing proposals, but not only that, but creating that empowering your brand by being consistent with the look and feel and the type of content that you're creating. Trust me, like, we all need that, and that is coming. So I'm really looking forward to that, even through to marketing that will allow you to quickly generate customer journeys and also help you with content ideas, which is definitely something that I struggle with as well. From a service standpoint, which of course I'm looking forward to, one of the definite things that I know a lot of my customers are looking forward to is the draft email responses, because to be honest, a lot of time is spent looking at emails, trying to create the perfect email, and actually then sending it across. A lot of people are afraid to do that because, to be honest, writing is sometimes hard. So if you have some help, why not use it, right? Supply chain, in terms of analyzing and understanding when you're going to be disrupted, this is going to save a lot of money, so you can actually make better plans and plan around things. And of course, operations, where you can actually create better product descriptions so people will know exactly what they're buying. So you can actually review over 50 different Copilots that were announced. I stopped counting, to be honest with you, but there are over 50 Copilots announced, and with each of these Copilots, there's additional AI goodiness that's actually coming into the different model-driven apps, and it's just going to serve a lot more purpose. And these are all native, and the use cases are specific to the persona that the app addresses, because you'll notice that each app is addressing one unique persona. Now, in summary, what do I actually want you to think about? The reason I put this together was because a lot of the times I interact with people, and the thought is, okay, they need this, I'm just going to build an app. And what I will ask you to do is I would ask you to actually evaluate the requirements and understand, actually, is this something that can be done with a model-driven app? Now, not because it can be done with a model-driven app means that it should be done with a model-driven app, because there are other things that you should think about as well. You also need to understand the persona. Who is this app for, right? Now, does it align to any of these personas? If it does, then okay, that's great. We keep going. Look at the timeline. Now, understand the timeline of your customer. Do they need this really quickly? Or, to be honest, do they actually need it like later on down the line, because to be honest, building a Canvas app with a lot of complex functionality sets sometimes is not the quick thing that a lot of people think it is, especially if it needs a lot of code, and it's not that easy to keep updated. So that's where I now start to think, okay, you might actually want to evaluate and test out the use of a model-driven app, which is going to be easier to support and actually quicker to just get on the road and implement, right? Analyze the roadmap. What exactly is the customer's roadmap? Not even Microsoft's roadmap, but what's the customer's roadmap? Because a lot of customers are starting off with simple requirements, simple use cases, but then those use cases grow through time and they are aware of where they want to go. But if we don't challenge, and if we don't ask the question, then we don't know. We've now built an app, a solution that we keep having to add to, and it basically keeps getting more complex. The idea is to remove complexity. Of course, sometimes you have to have complexity, but not if you don't have to. So if you understand the roadmap and understand where the customer wants to go, sometimes this will just lead you to a model-driven app. Now, of course, we have the dirty word, licensing. A lot of people will say, okay, model-driven app, way too expensive. I don't really want to go there because the customer can't afford it. And that's totally fair. However, I'll actually analyze the cost of support, the cost of maintenance, the cost of actually building out the app. Is it actually worth it? So sometimes it is, and sometimes it really isn't. There's some apps, there's some functionality that just suits better in a model-driven app. So think about these things when you actually get a requirement to build an app, and then analyze the different applications that are out there. Now, this is actually the start of a series, so the reason I've not gone into detail into each, you'll notice that there are quite a lot, and that's why I would not go into detail, is because in the next couple of months with the D365 user group, we're going to be inviting guest speakers to come in and do deeper dives on each of these apps, so you can understand and actually have a look about what the apps look like, what the use cases of these apps were built for, or what the app was built for, and what use cases do they address. And I really invite you to come and basically keep learning so you can understand what and when and why you would use those apps. Now, in the meanwhile, should you want to keep learning, then I encourage you to do so through Microsoft Learn. If you scan that QR code right there, it will take you to the D365 Business Applications Microsoft Learn page with all the apps, where you can actually click on whichever one you want to learn and go into it, right? You can also then take the exam, because there is an exam. Of course there is an exam, and everybody loves an exam certificate, so knock yourself out. You also have the blogs by some of my favorite ladies, D365 Goddess, Dion Walker, Megan, who basically blogs about marketing. She is like the marketing goddess. Lisa Crosby, that does very basically all across D365, so she's not limited to any one particular app, but she does a lot of intro level things as well as more intermediate and advanced. So definitely recommend checking her out. And of course, I couldn't leave myself out. So triciasinclair.com, I do actually blog mainly about customer service and omnichannel. So that's the only thing. D365 Goddess, which is Dion, she does more of the newer things that are coming out across all the apps. Lisa Crosby for everything, Megan for marketing, myself for customer service, and I think you can't go wrong. Now, I do want to thank you and invite you to follow me, like me, share, and if you have any questions, please, now is your time. Any questions? I'm trying to see in the meeting. Any questions on apps? I will take that for an absolute no. And yes, somebody said PVA all the things, and I think that is true. We should PVA everything. It's great. But to be honest, this recording is going to be available on YouTube. It is already available on YouTube. It has been live streamed, as we always do, and also available on LinkedIn. So if you want to rewatch, absolutely, please feel free. And I will thank you all for your time today. Thank you, and have a great day. Please join our next user group session. The dates will be announced very shortly. Thank you.